Hello everyone, this is RaySpace and welcome back to Realism Overhaul Sandbox in Kerbal Space Program 1.12. Pekka has made improvements to his Super Heavy landing script where it catches the Super Heavy with the chopsticks, and I tested this during Twitch live streams over the weekend, and you can see one of the improvements right away, and that's the dialog box that Pekka created for the KOS script up there, and it is currently counting down and displaying all the propellants. And you can see that Starship is slightly underfueled in this particular situation, and then we've got a control Super Heavy option. Right now we're controlling Starship, but if you want to follow Super Heavy back down, we need to click the control Super Heavy button, and so it saves the trouble of changing vessels ourselves. And so you see I've activated the control Super Heavy, got cut out most of the launch, sorry about that, but that's because we've got a lot of testing to do here. And now the recovery script is much more reliable, and in this video I'm presenting all the attempts in sequence except for one that I cut out because it was just a mistake I made. So during the Twitch live streams, the ones that you see in this video were done one after another with no skips except for the one where I had made a mistake. So here we see the Super Heavy turning around, and the dialog box has changed. Now instead of saying which vehicle we want to control, it gives us a go for catch option, and I click go for catch, and so that clears it to be caught. And if we don't click go for catch, as we'll see later in this video, it will aim for the water instead. The abort is just to abort the script. It's not a full complicated abort because we haven't actually seen what an abort would look like in that situation. So that is just abort of the script. So here we are coming in, and right now there is no payload in Starship, but in the other attempts in this video I am going to add payload in Starship, or I did during the live streams. So here you can see all the data, you can see the stage delta V as it's being used. There are no tricks here, though Pekka, I mean, it depends on what you call all of Pekka's wizardry in KOS and the plugins used to control this. There are three scripts, one controlling Starship, one controlling Super Heavy, and one controlling the tower. And as we see the vehicle being caught here, the tower is now going to proceed with centering the booster and lowering it. So you can see I've brought up the KOS window for the tower, and it is saying that it is centering the Super Heavy, and as you can see, Super Heavy is sort of sliding along and trying to get to the center of the launch mount, and it is also being lowered. So just being able to catch it would have been enough for a normal person, but Pekka has managed all this, and again, it's Pekka's mod, all the parts are Pekka's and the script is Pekka's. I'm just here to present it for you. And once Pekka is satisfied with it, perhaps he'll release the KOS script, though the mod itself of course is available, and I'll put the link in the video description of that, and I think it comes with at least the Starship launch script. So here we go, being lowered down, and the umbilical even pops out to reattach, though the booster isn't exactly secure here, and we don't have the apparatus to put a new Starship on top. That's a whole other business. So I wanted to see whether we could duplicate that, right? We want to see how reliable it is, so during the live stream I did it once again without any payload. So once again, zero payload inside, or banana if you like. I mused that we could call this the banana Starship, or banana version of Starship, one that does not actually go to orbit with a payload. So yeah, that's what it is. And it goes off, and here Super Heavy boosts back again. The predicted value will hit 0 and slightly go past it. It needs to go past it to compensate for the drag. But as we get really close to the surface, that calculation doesn't work anymore. It needs an alternate calculation. So you'll see sometimes that number does strange things once we're closer down. Right here, it's trying to get to 0. And here, of course, the number up there is not so good, but that's fine. It's calculating things a different way. And Pekka wanted me to look at the engines. I forget what the reason was, but that's why we've got an engine view as it comes in to settle down. And it didn't quite make it with the music. The music ended first and then it got caught. But we can't have perfection. The music was going during the live stream. It was just random playlists in VLC Media Player, so no sync with the music there. And it lowered the booster again, but I decided not to keep an eye on that. I was convinced it would do it properly. So this time I put a payload in, and that was the Blue Moon refueler that I used during the demonstration of the Blue Moon landing mission on the moon a few videos back. And so it's about 45 to 50 tons, so a moderate payload for Starship. And we're leaving Starship slightly underfueled here as a result. And here we go again for staging, hot staging. And off it goes. And boost back. The omitted attempt that I mentioned earlier was actually the first one with the payload, and that was when I accidentally clicked, I think, the Smart ASS kill rotation button briefly. I turned it on accidentally when I was clicking out of the window and back in, and then turned it off again. But I think that threw off the booster, and as a result, it did not actually land safely. So that one was cut out because there was an anomaly, if you will. Though there is going to be another anomaly that I'll show. But after that one, it did once again successfully approach the tower a little bit differently, but I think broadly speaking about the same sort of approach to the tower. And so the fact that we were carrying payload does not seem to have changed how things worked substantially here. Okay, there we go, it gets its hug. Alright, so with the booster successfully hugged, I tried a different payload. This is a lighter payload actually. You might have thought I would go heavier, but it was easier to just underfuel that tank than to put something heavier on. So this is actually only 24 tons, I think. And we just want to see whether it's consistent or not. So far, aside from the one where I messed up, we are 3 for 3 in this video. And this is number 4. Now, as it turned out, I accidentally did not press the go for catch button this time, but that's okay in that now we get to see exactly what happens when you don't press the go for catch button. And so it does the boost back, and remember, in all cases I press the go for catch button after it finishes that, and it's in this mode trajectory fine-tuning. And this time I just honestly forgot about it. I didn't even think about testing it, but ended up testing it anyway, which Pekka wanted me to do, so it turned out for the best. So here it's coming down, and I click it late, but we're already past the mode where you can click it, so you can't click it here. It's already decided to do the booster offshore divert, as you can see. So it's ignoring that, presumably. And so this is the offshore divert option. And it sort of hovers around there for a bit and really gently sets it down. I clicked the go for catch thing again to make it no-go, but I don't think that makes any difference in this case. And so we will see how it does, softly impacting the surface. And there we go, the engines are sort of submerged, and that's the end of that. And then of course it topples. Can't stay like that, but we don't get the big explosion. For once, there's more explosions in real life than there is in Kerbal. It did get rid of practically all the engines, most of the engines. So, but the actual body of it remained intact, amazingly. But anyway, I had to do the same payload again. I was trying to do that 24-ton payload. I don't expect it to end up any differently. I think it'll end up on the chopsticks just fine now that I'm going to click go for catch. But we want to see the consistency of it and everything. So, boost back. Everything very, very, very consistent here. And the hot stage ring off, and we're coming down. Definitely go for catch this time. And here it comes. You'll note a little pause as we sort of enter render range of the tower, and the tower has to sort of get active at that point too. And somebody decided to follow right here. Good timing on the Twitch live stream. See, it's a Twitch live stream. These things happen. Okay, so there we go. It has been caught. So now naturally I wanted to try a heavier payload, so instead of filling these tanks with hydrogen and oxygen, I put methane and oxygen and underfueled it a little bit so that we got about 80 tons inside. However, what I didn't know was that in adjusting the Starship, which I now fully fueled, you can see that there, I accidentally clicked the lock button on Starship's fuel. And so we had a bit of a failure. You see Starship couldn't ignite its engines in order to get away, because its fuel was locked, and so Super Heavy knocked into it, went all over the place. And I'm including this just to note how this turns out, but obviously this shouldn't count against the script or anything. This is once again a raise-induced error here, or anomaly, raise-induced anomaly, something like that. Anyway, well, it did all the other stuff. We haven't lost any of the actual deceleration engines, but it's definitely off. And it had some sort of, well, Pekka described it as a phantom force on it, where it didn't really settle down until it hit the atmosphere rather late. And so it actually glided a little bit further than it was supposed to. On the whole, considering the anomaly, and of course we should have not been go for catch here, but considering the anomaly, it did fairly well. Considering it overshoot also, there was no expectation that I could turn back to the tower. All the numbers go a little bit wacky if you go past the tower at that point. At least as far as I would imagine. And of course it didn't have enough fuel anyway. So yeah, that's the end of that one. I decided to revert immediately. I probably should have waited for the explosions, but anyway. So I tried the same payload again. It is a methane oxygen payload, so it doesn't show up like separate in the resources. It's 80 tons though, so that's quite a lot. And then the burden on Super Heavy is extra because also we're fully fueling the Starship, so it's not getting further out. The boost back burn overall is less than. It's coming down with more fuel. So it's coming down, getting less drag as well. So here we go. As we see whether it is alright with this payload, the other variable that we can change is the inclination, but actually out of Boca Chica there aren't a whole lot of good inclinations that don't involve flying over another country. So yeah, what inclinations they will pick is a bit of a toss-up, but it will probably throw off the script a little bit, and it does require testing to make sure that it compensates properly for the different inclinations. But for now, this is a very good result, especially since the natural inclination out of Boca Chica, the one that it has been going out with, is very good for getting to other planets, as well as the moon. So the purposes of going to different inclinations other than this are sort of slim. But anyway, there we have it. It is caught by the chopsticks, and Pekka has successfully made his scripts much more reliable. In fact, perfectly reliable, barring the anomalies I create. So anyway, with that, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do press like. If you have any comments or suggestions, please leave them in the comment section below, and I'll see you next time.